On the ship, I proposed to my girlfriend of 6 years, but she turned me down without a second thought. Jackson, I'm against marriage, and you're just a jobless loser. How can you get married? That led to a big argument between us on the ship. And wouldn't you know it, we ran into a tsunami and both ended up drowning. The next thing we knew, we both got reborn 8 years into the past. This time, she immediately broke up with me. I didn't want to repeat the past, so I decided to let her go. 8 years later, she was standing there with her new guy, looking down at me. Guess what, loser? It's a good thing I ditched you early. I couldn't be bothered with her smug attitude. That is, until my pregnant girlfriend leaned in close to me. She grabbed my wrist, glaring at me, who said you could have a kid with someone else. When I tried to pull my girlfriend Amy back, she shook my hand off. Jackson, don't touch me. I'm officially breaking up with you now. I was stunned, but seeing the joy in her eyes, I understood everything. Turns out she also got reborn to our college reunion day. In our past life, I was a freelance investor and Amy was a pianist. Her hands were precious, so I took care of all the housework. She had high standards for living, so I was always scheming up surprises for her. Back then, my world revolved around her. If she'd wanted the moon, I'd have given it to her. Things changed when I proposed. I went all out with romance and flowers, but Amy rejected me in front of her friends without hesitating. Jackson, I'm just not into marriage. I won't marry you. Later, I accidentally heard from her best friend. Amy was pretty and constantly pursued, so why would she settle for a couch potato like me? Only someone like Peter, a top-notch pianist, was good enough for her. When Amy came back, she'd get angry and tell me to stop with those childish proposals. She was a firm believer in staying single. She went on about how her crush was touring worldwide. And me? I was just a useless guy at home. Then she wanted to push me into a piano group, thinking I could learn from her crush's ambition. I firmly refused. She started mocking me, saying I was worthless because I didn't have a job, even threatening to break up with me if I didn't shape up. But I never told her that I wasn't just a house husband. I actually had my own thriving career as one of the top investors in the country. I worked from home and made more than most people could dream of in a lifetime. She never realized that all my gifts were luxury high-end items, that the villa we lived in was fully bought by me, and she never knew I had millions in cash flow. So, I didn't get why I needed to be ambitious like her crush. Eventually, I couldn't take it and we fought. I was exhausted mentally and physically, so I broke up with her. Before we officially split, Amy asked to visit Serbia once more, and I agreed. But sadly, we encountered that disaster at sea. If life gave us another chance, we'd not make the same mistakes. Soon, I heard Amy was with her crush. My life continued as usual. I stayed a freelance investor. 8 years later, I had just invested all I had in a stock when my buddy called. He invited me to a concert. I planned to decline, but he was persistent. So I went in flip-flops. As I arrived at the entrance, a soft voice called my name. Jackson. I turned and saw Amy, looking sophisticated in a pretty dress. She sized me up, saying with disdain, "It's been so long, and you're still this shabby?" I was about to politely greet her when an interrupting, snobby voice chimed in. "Amy, is this that useless ex-boyfriend of yours? Need help finding a job? We got an opening for a janitor in the piano troupe. Seems right for you." Right then, a young man put his arm around Amy. Seeing them so close, I easily guessed this was Peter, Amy's dream guy from the last life. She'd lied and even planned to marry this man. Ignoring Peter's jab, I calmly said, "No thanks." A few mutual friends were there, too. One clapped me on the shoulder. "Jackson, Peter is just being nice. Don't feel it's beneath you. Better than doing nothing at home." Their laughter was boisterous. "Totally. Even if you've got family money, it'll run out. Best get a job soon." Their mocking didn't faze me. I hardly knew them. No need to argue. People love kicking others when they're down. But they never think maybe someone's just not interested in sharing their life. Seeing my silence, a guy I'd never gotten along with complained. "Jackson, what's with the attitude? Peter is being a bro trying to help. Don't be ungrateful. I sighed. I said, I don't need his help. Amy frowned. A bit annoyed. Jackson, I told you before. Stop aiming too high. Even with a degree without experience, high-paying jobs aren't for you. Peter smirked and patted Amy's head. Jackson, does rejecting my help mean you're jealous I'm with Amy? We don't mind, so it's petty if you do. Amy was right, you don't get people. Really didn't know how to reply. It's like these folks were auditioning for a drama. Is it just because I don't have a job that I'm living off my parents? Luckily, my buddy pulled me away under the pretense that the concert was about to start, saving me from more sarcasm. Even as we got inside, I could still hear their whispers. How did Amy ever choose Jackson? One said, besides having a bit of family money, what's he got? And he turned down Peter's help. He's so full of himself. You know he's just fronting, as men do with their pride. Peter heard it all and smirked at me. Jackson, don't take it to heart. You did way better than me in college. Who would have thought you'd end up like this? So you can't blame them for talking. Amy gave me a cold look, calling me useless. The concert kicked off on time. I then realized Peter was the pianist for the night. In his sharp black tailored suit and the aura he exuded, he sent the women in the room into a frenzy. Friends nearby couldn't help but praise him. Look at Peter, a real artist. No wonder he's got so many admirers. In college, he was quite the catch, and with his overseas cred, he's worth a fortune now. I heard some big shot master is taking him on as a student. His future's bright. Maybe he felt the attention. During the break, Peter suddenly stood up on stage. The lights dimmed except one spotlight on him. He knelt and raised a ring towards Amy. At this grand concert, I want to thank someone, my fiancée, Amy. Thank you for supporting my music journey and life. Will you marry me? Amy stood up excitedly. Someone handed her a mic. Peter, I will. Thanks to your guidance on my music, I'd still be stuck otherwise. Marrying you is my life's luck. The audience applauded and cheered. Only then did I truly realize Amy's aversion to marriage was just for me. Because I'm not Peter. She didn't want to marry me. A wave of relief hit me that I wasn't hung up on her. My friends couldn't help but comment, I thought you two would get hitched back then. But your current girlfriend's pretty great too. Thinking of my girlfriend's sweet face, I smiled silently. I nodded to my buddy and headed to the bathroom, unexpectedly running into Amy when I came out. I nodded politely to leave, but she stopped me. Jackson, losing me and you're worse off than a beggar. Look how miserable you are. I told you to join the piano group. Stick with Peter, you'd be better than aimless now. Look at our classmates today, who's not doing better than you. I glanced at my cheap clothes, sighing, is there anything wrong with how I dress? Amy snapped, it's been years, and you're still the same. Is admitting you're doing poorly so hard? I'm just grateful I didn't repeat the past's misery. I didn't want to argue, turning to leave. Then Peter strode over, blocking me. Jackson, catching up with Amy or begging her back, say a soft word, and I might be forgiving. Jealous of me having Amy? No need. You can't stop her seeking better. Peter's repeated taunts annoyed me. I lost patience. Wearing no brands doesn't mean I'm broke. I own the music group you're in. I could get you fired for your attitude. Laughing, Peter sneered, Jackson, are you delusional? If you really owned Selena Music, Amy wouldn't leave you for me, would she? Even Amy mocked. Confidence is good, but pretending to be someone you're not is pathetic. I used to see you as a rival, but I'm so disappointed. You're not even worthy to carry my shoes. Peter taunted me, patting my shoulder. Amy cuddled into him. Peter, don't joke. Jackson's no match for you. Peter enjoyed her compliments and left with her. Last time Amy agreed to be with me, Peter called from abroad, Jackson, I'll crush you underfoot one day. Now I see he and Amy are made for each other. They love comparisons, unlike me. That's why we're practically strangers now. When I got back to the hall, the crowd had mostly left. I said goodbye to my friends and was about to leave when Peter approached, looking stern. Why? I asked, annoyed. I can't find the ring I bought Amy. Nobody who talked to her can leave. Amy looked worried that ring's worth millions. She suddenly eyed me suspiciously. Jackson, Did you steal my ring? Everyone else looked at me the same way. No way Jackson wouldn't. Why not? Even a corner dog will leap over a wall. Look at his shabby look. Amy's accusation irked me, and I frowned. Got any proof I took it? Since it's such a valuable thing, maybe we should call the police instead of accusing me of something I didn't do. I glanced at the time. It was almost 11. Around this time, every night, my girlfriend insists I tell her a bedtime story. I just wanted to wrap this up and head home to rest. But Peter wasn't having it and refused my suggestion. No way, if it really was one of our old classmates who took it, it could get messy. Let me search you. If I find nothing, you can leave. I hadn't stolen the ring, so I calmly let Peter search me. He then pulled out a dazzling diamond ring from the pocket of my white t-shirt, engraved with the letters XYY. I recognized it was an engagement ring and explained, I didn't steal your ring. Amy stepped up, ready to slap me. Would a thief admit to being a thief? Jackson, I can't believe you'd rather steal than take the opportunity one offered you. I must have been blind to be with you. Her hand stopped just a centimeter from me as I caught it. I shook my head, annoyed. I already said it wasn't me. How can you just accuse someone based on words? If you think I stole it, call the police and let them determine the truth. The noise from the party eventually got the attention of the concert staff. Just then, someone approached us. It was my girlfriend, Selena, seeing her advancing with her baby bump. I rushed over to support her. Selena, why did you come here? Pouting, she replied. I've been waiting for you at home for ages, so I came looking for you. She always needs someone with her at night. I called over the management to pull up the surveillance footage. Peter scoffed at my command to the staff. Jackson, you think you own this concert hall? You think they'll just pull up the footage because you asked? Selena started to speak, but I stopped her. I knew Peter wouldn't back down unless hit with hard evidence. Unexpectedly, the staff knew me. Sure thing. Please wait a moment. I'll get the footage for you right away. The respectful tone from the manager took everyone by surprise. Did I hear right? Jackson is the CEO of Selena Music Company? That can't be. If he was, why does he dress so plainly? I didn't explain their doubts, just instructed the manager to get tonight's footage. Jackson suddenly interrupted. There's no need. We found it, so there's no need to involve the police. We're just classmates. I didn't want to make it ugly. Selena laughed sarcastically. How can you just let it go? You were all quick to blame him. But now that you find out he's the CEO of Selena Music, you're all scared? Selena's words shocked everyone. No way Jackson is really the CEO of Selena Music. I've heard of him. He's one of the top investors, always turning a profit. If that's true, why would Amy break up with him? Even my best friend punched my shoulder in surprise. You sly dog. You kept this from me too. I coughed lightly. You never asked. Can't just go around telling everyone. That was as good as confirming my identity. Peter's and Amy's faces fell, turning dark with frustration. Amy didn't expect I wasn't as useless as I appeared. Nervously twisting her fingers, she asked me again. Jackson, are you really the CEO of Selena Music? At my calm confirmation, Amy went pale. As your status elevates, those who spoke ill of you change their tune. Even acquaintances I barely knew tried cozying up to me. Hey, is this your girlfriend or wife? Someone asked. Holding Selena's hand, I announced, this is my girlfriend, Selena. Once she has the baby, we'll have a wedding and everyone's invited. Selena shyly cuddled into my arms, softly punching my chest. Flowers.
Rings.
Don't miss a thing, or I won't marry you.
Got it? Got it.
I reassured her gently. Amy watched, clearly upset. I paid her no mind, casually responding to friendly remarks around me. Soon, the police arrived, and it only took an hour to prove my innocence. It turned out that when Peter patted my shoulder outside the restroom, he slipped the ring into my pocket. Charged with framing me, Peter was taken away. Before they left, he grabbed my hand, pleading, Jackson, I didn't mean to set you up. I was just jealous. Please, tell the police to let it go. We're classmates. Don't let me get arrested. I looked down to see Peter's hopeful eyes. I replied coldly, I refuse. Adults are responsible for their actions. Peter was reluctantly taken away, just outside the concert hall. Amy hurriedly called after me. Jackson. I knew Amy had more to say, so I gestured for Selena to wait in the car. Amy's eyes were a mix of confusion and regret. Why didn't you tell me any of this? I had no idea you were so important. Did you ever love me?
Caught off guard.
I paused with a cigarette in my hand, glancing at the slightly disheveled Amy. My parents were killed because of family inheritance battles, teaching me early to keep a low profile. Not even Amy knew. I thought about telling her if, in a past life, she'd accepted my proposal. I would have told her everything and transferred my company in her name, but she refused. I accidentally opened Amy's phone notes one time and discovered she had written down tidbits about Peter. Her words were filled with regret, mostly about not marrying Peter. Her claim to be against marriage was just an excuse to reject me. At that moment, I deeply questioned whether pursuing Amy in the first place was a mistake. But now, I'm not lost anymore, because I have Selena. I shook my head coldly. I used to love her, but not anymore. As you can see, Selena is already expecting my child. I don't understand why Amy brought it up. 8 years have passed, and a lot has changed. It's pointless to dig into it now. My only focus is being responsible for Selena. Selena and I met when her dad, who's my business partner, brought her to a dinner party. She admired my decisive nature and academic prowess. I was equally drawn to her innocence and romantic spirit. We naturally ended up together. I had planned to propose, but then Selena unexpectedly got pregnant. She insists on waiting to marry until after the baby is born because she doesn't want to wear a wedding dress while she's bigger. So, I'm letting her have her way. When I told Amy this, her face twisted with what looked like sadness. But then I laughed to myself. She hated me in our past life. She couldn't really be sad, right? A couple of days later, the police called me asking if I wanted to press charges against Peter. I told them to handle it according to the law. Peter's parents tried visiting me a few times to settle with money, but I refused. I'm not short on money these days. I didn't expect Peter to be reported for taking someone else's study abroad opportunity. The victim exposed it online. Back in school, Peter was a high-profile figure. He joined the best national music troupe soon after graduation. Who would have thought he had taken someone else's chance to study abroad? The original victim could have gained significant benefits from this opportunity, but missed out on a shining moment. The accolades and applause should have been for them, but Peter stole them. Missing out on joining the premier music group, the victim now teaches at an ordinary music shop. Hearing this infuriated me. I insisted to the police to thoroughly investigate everything Peter did. Music education is costly. Some families invest everything so their child might succeed. To crush someone's hopes like this is simply outrageous. What took me by surprise was this impacting Amy. I got a call from an unfamiliar number. On the other end, Amy was crying. Jackson, what should I do? The police called, telling me to go to the station. I'm so scared. They said Peter accepted bribes from colleagues, and now there's an investigation. It won't affect me, right? I frowned, trying to calm her down. Just go give your statement at the police station and see what happens. The next day, Amy knocked on my door. After I opened it, I suggested we talk at the nearby cafe. The moment we sat down, she burst into tears. Jackson, what am I supposed to do? So the police contacted me because the ring Peter bought me was with bribery money, and I have to return it. Worse, she received a call from the bank that afternoon. Peter had secretly borrowed $20 million in her name. She hadn't worked at all those years with Peter, so she couldn't pay such a massive loan, leaving her no choice but to seek my help. I can't stand seeing women cry. After reassuring Amy, I sighed and said, let me see if I can help somehow. I pushed the coffee cup toward her. Amy placed her hand over mine and softly said, Jackson, I knew you'd help me. You still care, right? I made a mistake ever leaving you for Peter.
I'm sorry.
If you say you'll marry me now, I'll do it right away. Annoyed, I frowned. Amy, we've broken up. I'm already with someone I care about. Stop talking nonsense. I don't have feelings for you. Face reality. Amy's emotions intensified. No way. If you didn't care, why would you answer my call? Your behavior hasn't changed since before. Admit it, you still love me, Jackson. Coldly I responded, I only pity you. If it were anyone else, I'd help too. This isn't love. I apologize for making you misunderstand, but stop dreaming. I turned to leave and she shouted, do you really think Selena, being so young, is genuinely interested in an older, shabby guy? You're 8 years older. You'll never be happy. I'm the only one for you. Why did I even bother meeting her? I never realized how obsessed Amy could get. She can't stand anyone being happy.
Can she?
People often comment on my shabby appearance. Yes, I prefer comfort over flaunting luxury brand logos. Amy used to make fun of my look, calling me messier than a beggar. What she doesn't know is I own 5 companies, have a villa, and drive luxury cars. Yet if someone's worth was only measured by clothing, isn't that pretty shallow? In the past, how did I end up with Amy? I chased her for 5 years, from high school to college graduation. It was at graduation that she finally agreed to be with me. She said I was the first one to chase her that long, and my persistence made her fall for me. I loved her honesty and sincerity too, but who knew that the qualities we initially liked about each other would eventually stab us like a knife? Not long after, Amy started showing up everywhere. One day she texted me. It said, if I didn't meet her, she'd kill herself at my doorstep. I freaked out, worried she'd do something stupid. So I agreed to meet her at the amusement park. As soon as I got there, she grabbed my arm and said, Jackson, face it. You like me. You're worried, right? Afraid I really might end it all? I didn't bother explaining and quietly called her parents. Seeing me silent, Amy thought she had a chance. She kept apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, Jackson. I know you're still mad about me leaving you. I really know I messed up. Can you forgive me this time? Didn't you say you'd never get mad at me no matter what? Did you forget?
I told her that was in the past.
I admitted I used to love Amy so much I wanted to marry her. But my love for her died after the constant insults and humiliation. I waited till her parents arrived before I was ready to leave. They stopped me asking Jackson, is there really no chance for you too? I remembered how much I used to like Amy. I knew she wasn't well and was emotionally unstable, but I had to cut in before her mom could finish. I said, Ma'am, my girlfriend's expecting and due next month. We're getting married after. If you don't mind, you're invited to the wedding. That shut them up. I left saying, spend more time with her. It wasn't easy talking tough to folks in their 50s. I recommended the best therapists I knew, hoping they'd get Amy some help. That was my last act of goodwill. After getting home, I was worried Amy might try something again. I discussed with Selena about moving to our house in the countryside. She cuddled up to me, saying softly, Are you worried Amy might harm our baby? I nodded. My right eyelid kept twitching, a bad omen, but I couldn't risk Selena's life. Selena agreed, without a second thought. Whenever I wasn't on a business trip, I was home with her. I was away when it happened. The next day, Amy showed up. I had warned Selena not to open the door to strangers. But that day, she craved takeout, thinking it was the delivery driver at the door. When she opened it, Amy turned on her, holding a fruit knife. Selena called me in tears, and that's when I knew. My heart shot to my throat. I ditched a $1 million deal and drove home at top speed, ignoring every speeding alert. For hours later, I arrived to find blood everywhere. My heart sank. The security later told me Selena was rushed to the hospital in time. I raced to the ER, finding her worried parents outside. I felt crushed. I'm sorry, so sorry. It's my fault I couldn't protect Selena. I wished Amy's knife had hit me instead. Imagining Selena covered in blood made me furious. How could sweet, fragile Selena endure that? Her folks didn't blame me, adding to my guilt. Maybe I banked a lot of good karma because 2 hours later, the doctor came out, pulling off his mask to say, Congrats. Mom and baby are fine. Relief flooded me, tears streaming down my cheeks. I followed as they wheeled Selena and our baby out, didn't even bother wiping my tears. The doctor mentioned the knife missed harming the baby by just a centimeter. Such terrible luck with a silver lining. Selena woke the next day, gripping my hand, sobbing, "Did I lose the baby?"
I'm sorry.
I couldn't protect them. My silly girl woke up blaming herself. How could I not adore her? I quickly showed her our baby, crying tears of joy. "No, our daughter's fine. Selena, you're a great mom." After she fell asleep again, I went to the police station. Amy was there, thinking I came to bail her out. She was all giddy, showing me her list of things I liked. "Jackson, you're here to bail me, right?" Men do like to say one thing and mean another. "Look, I've noted all your favorites. You said I never paid attention, so I decided to learn them well." She was beaming like a kid, but I had no sympathy left. I yanked her hair, slapped her across the face. "Amy, you're the only woman I've ever hit." Quickly, before the cops returned, I landed 2 more slaps, letting out all the anger and hate. Her face swelled as she cried and asked why I hit her.
Why?
I shook with rage. "Amy, Selena almost died with our unborn child because of you. How can you be so cruel? It was me who left you. What's this got to do with her? You think if she's gone, I'll run back to you? You think you're the only one who can start over? I'm telling you, I've moved on too." The shock widened her eyes. Because she knew that if I was reborn, given how she treated me in her last life, there was no way I'd be with her. Back then, if you had accepted my proposal, I would have turned over all my companies to you. You would have become the envy of everyone. But you ruined everything with your own hands. Amy's eyes filled with resentment, and she grabbed my hand, saying, "No way, you can't be reborn. I should be the only one. Jackson, you obviously love me. How could that change so suddenly?" I knew it was because of that scumbag Selena, right? "As long as she's out of the picture, you'll definitely love me again." I shook my head in disappointment. Even at this point, Amy was still so delusional. Did she really think that remembering my preferences would make me fall for her again? A love that's late is worth even less than grass. When she treated me like trash and said I wasn't even as good as a dog, I stopped loving her. "Amy, loving you is the biggest regret of my life." This triggered Amy, and she screamed, rushing at me. Unfortunately for both of us, the police had already barged in and restrained us. Seeing the bitterness and fury in her eyes, I felt a twinge of satisfaction. She won't have a peaceful life. Because I hit someone, I was detained for 5 days. Amy, despite her assault charges, was diagnosed with a mental illness and wasn't sentenced. Instead, she was confined to a mental hospital indefinitely. I made sure to tip off the nurse taking care of her, ensuring Amy wouldn't be too comfortable. Getting slapped around, going hungry, and being cold became her everyday reality. Not too long after, Amy couldn't take it anymore and jumped to her death. When I heard the news, I didn't feel any satisfaction, just a bit of melancholy. I never thought things would end like this for Amy and me, but I'm on to a new life. In 3 days, Selena will be wearing a beautiful wedding dress, marrying me. I'll be the happiest groom and dad around.